let me quote something else Barack Obama said recently, that the greatest test is not only words but also deeds. But in terms of the words, in terms of what we saw in this last week and the trip to Latin America, it's very it's very heartening after 8 years of arrogance and swagger to see America with the limits, but to trying to re-engage the world, to say we need to be a constructive partner, to bear some responsibility, whether it's the economic crisis or other depredations of American power in the world, to hear the American president say that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam, and to watch him shake hands with Hugo Chavez, to see the beginnings of kicking open the door on Cuba policy, not fully open, which is disappointing. But I do think that between the European and the Latin America trips, you see a leader, and people have to be heartened by that eagerness to re-engage. The speech in Prague I thought was important because it was not a commitment to nuclear abolition, which has been something the nation has been writing about for 2 decades, but it was laying down the groundwork for a responsible and new nuclear proliferation framework. I think that, and I think on the climate crisis, we've seen more, to pick up on what Deepak said, more in the last 100 days, counting, than we've seen at any point. I would say, though, that, and here I want to just thank Robert Dreyfus, because Bob Dreyfus at thenation.com and in the magazine has been doing some extraordinary reporting on the escalation, the military escalation into Afghanistan and the turmoil in Pakistan. So if there is a disappointment, it is that Barack Obama, in coming out of Iraq, again, disappointing because we had worked for a swifter timetable, and it's going to require, and I think all of us fool ourselves if we think that is over and done with, we're going to have to come back and mobilize again to pull out on the timetable that even Obama has now laid down, which is slower than we had anticipated. But the grave concern, if I had to list one right now on the foreign policy front, is the military escalation in Afghanistan risks draining the resources needed to rebuild this country, risks destabilizing Pakistan, risks alienating those very European allies we are now trying to re-engage, and risks tarnishing America's image in the Muslim world, which Obama speaks eloquently about the need to restore. And finally, you know, at a moment where we see the fallout from the imperial arrogance of the Bush administration years, it's a moment, it could be a great opportunity with the discredited, deregulated market fundamentalism, with the imperial fallout, to think anew about a defense budget that should be trimmed back. When even Barney Frank in the pages of The Nation is writing about a 25% cut, you know there's some motion. Mm-hmm. And also, as Michael Clare wrote in The Nation this past week, the return to a counterinsurgency, General Petraeus, kind of low-intensity conflict warfare doctrine, is one we need to pay attention to and may be very much at odds with the very good work that Barack Obama is trying to do after 8 years of unilateral swagger and ravaging of America and its reputation in the world.
Katrina vanden Heuvel, let me follow on one thing that you said there. You touched on Afghanistan. I noticed that somebody's got their U.S. out of Afghanistan yard signs in the back. But it seems that this is one of the great complexities with a relatively liberal Democratic president elected in many ways as an anti-war candidate or seen by many people as such. There seems to be a great gap between what Obama is doing and the response even of the anti-war community and certainly of anti-war members of Congress. Do we do him a disfavor by being cooperative or silent on this issue?
No, I don't believe so, because I think that the success of his presidency rides partly on not getting embroiled in what may well be a quagmire. I think history by parallels, or analysis by history, is sometimes tricky, but I do see parallels with Vietnam. I won't tick them off here. I think if we are interested in seeing a successful Obama presidency, whether it's on the bank bailouts or on Afghanistan, that we as allies do a service to the nation and to this administration by speaking out and offering smart alternatives. And I do believe there are allies in Congress who understand the need to lay down an exit strategy, to hold hearings, and some of that, thanks to the Congressional Progressive Caucus, 77 members strong, is already taking place, and that is where we as independent activists, thinkers, journalists need to not only give visibility to those efforts, but also to push those to happen, because as I said, we do a disservice by laying back.